Welcome to Rathalos Watch. Today, I am going to be rating the visual design of Rey Dau from Monster Hunter Wilds based on a 10-point scaling system that's divided into 5 different categories. The 5 categories are Realism, Fantasy, Color Scheme, Originality, and Silhouette. After each category has been given a rating, I am going to combine all the 5 scores together for the final monster's visual design. If you enjoy this type of content and want more Monster Hunter Wilds goodness, make sure to subscribe and like this video. Without further ado, let's begin. Realism. To be honest, there isn't much to say about the realism of Rey Dau. As a flying wyvern, it fits the mythical creature archetype, characterized by a long pointed tail, 2 wings and 2 legs, resembling a dragon that doesn't exist in reality. However, the most realistic features of Rey Dau are its talons and legs, which resemble those of a real-world animals. Eagles have talons similar to raptors, while emus have prehistoric lizard-like feet. The legs of Rey Dau also evoke the appearance of reptiles, such as alligators or Komodo dragons. Thus, its feet and legs are the most believable aspects of the creature. Rey Dau's face, with its unusual shape, doesn't closely resemble any specific real animal. Among the monsters we've seen in Monster Hunter Wilds, Rey Dau is arguably the most unrealistic so far. That said, other flying wyverns could also be considered unrealistic, making it challenging to rate Rey Dau or any other flying wyvern solely on realism. Nevertheless, I'll adhere to the criteria here. The realism category will be getting a rating of 4 out of 10. Fantasy. When it comes to the fantasy aspect, Rey Dau is probably my favorite monster, to be honest. He's a flying wyvern that emerges during the fallow season and Scentide, and as a thunder monster, he can charge himself up and strike down his prey with lightning like a railgun. He also has a wide range of powerful melee attacks. Essentially, Rey Dau is like a flying version of Zinogre, but with even more impressive thunder abilities. The animations, sounds, and special effects surrounding him are top-notch, showcasing a level of production quality that truly stands out. His music theme is also unforgettable. I already have it stuck in my head and can instantly recognize it when it plays. As the apex predator of Windward Plains, Rey Dau dominates the battlefield, obliterating other monsters if he decides to join the fray and cause chaos. If the hunter dares to confront him in his nest, they should be prepared for an especially dangerous battle. The ground in his nest is charged with static, and if he strikes it with lightning, the area of effect will be larger, more explosive, and far more damaging. Capcom has gone all out to make it clear that Rey Dau is the big boss of the locale. He doesn't mess around, and you need to be as prepared as possible because you never know when he'll decide to join the fight. It's a cool fantasy and a truly badass monster. The fantasy category will be getting a rating of 10 out of 10. Color scheme. Rey Dau's color scheme features just 2 colors, gold and blue. The majority of his body is covered in gold, with blue accents along the front of his wings and most of his tail. The contrast is striking because the blue and yellow gold complement each other beautifully. When he charges up with lightning, the color contrast becomes even more pronounced. The color palette is reminiscent of Zinogre, another lightning monster, so it makes sense that Capcom would choose a similar color scheme with a slight differences in the shades. The color scheme category will be getting a rating of 10 out of 10. Originality. The most original aspect of Rey Dau is likely the fact that he isn't just a monster capable of charging up like a battery and unleashing havoc with his lightning powers. He has also taken over the role of apex predator in the desert locale of Windward Plains. Previously, Diablos held this position in any desert area, at least in Monster Hunter World. However, one factor that detracts from Rey Dau's originality is that he is another flying wyvern in a franchise already filled with them, as I previously stated. That said, he compensates for this by essentially being a flying Zinogre, capable of dominating both on land and in the air. Additionally, I believe Rey Dau might be the first monster in Monster Hunter history to have a distinct advantage over the hunter when fought in his lair. If I'm mistaken, feel free to correct me in the comments. Despite Rey Dau being far from a realistic monster, his visual design is stunning. His face exudes aggression and power, with a crown of jagged horns rising from his head, framing his intense, deeply set eyes. His wide mouth, lined with sharp, predatory teeth, is designed for tearing through prey. The long, blade-like protrusions extending from the sides of his jaws, curving slightly upward like tusks, add to his fearsome appearance. These features, along with angular bony ridges and rough, textured scales, give him an overwhelming impression of dominance and lethal capability. I love his color scheme, and I think his head is uniquely designed compared to other flying wyverns. The horns in particular add an original touch to his overall look. The originality category will be getting a rating of 10 out of 10. Silhouette. This one's a bit tricky because there are already so many flying wyverns in the game. When comparing the silhouettes of Tigrex, Nargacuga, Rathalos, and a few others, the easiest way to distinguish them is by looking for the standout features on their faces, wings, or tails, like specific spikes or unique shapes. In the case of Rey Dau, his most distinguishing features are his face, the 2 horns protruding from his head, and the blade-like extrusions from the sides of his jaw. His face is quite unique compared to other flying wyverns, which helps his silhouette stand out. However, I'd argue that it's still possible to get a bit confused when trying to identify him solely by his silhouette. The silhouette category will be getting a rating of 8 out of 10. Final rating. This may sound a bit contradictory or even hypocritical, but despite my preference for more grounded and realistic monsters like Doshagumo or Chotacabra in terms of visual design, Rey Dau is actually my favorite monster among everything shown so far in Monster Hunter Wilds. Rey Dau is truly impressive as a flying wyvern, showcasing unique features in both its appearance and behavior. Its combat style, the added danger of fighting it in its own habitat, and its appearance during the Sentide and Pharaoh seasons in the Windward Plains all contribute to its distinctiveness. However, I had to adhere to my rating criteria, which is why I gave it a lower score for realism. This will affect its overall rating more than I would have liked, but it's important to stay honest and consistent with my standards. Remember, this is a visual design review, not an evaluation of how fun it is to fight the monster. Those are two separate aspects. The final rating for Rey Dau's visual design will be receiving a score of 8.2 out of 10. Fellow hunters, what do you think about my Rey Dau's final visual design rating? Do you believe it is a fair score or not, and why? What would you rate his visual design? I hope you enjoyed this episode of rating the visual design of X Monster for Monster Hunter Wilds. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe with notifications turned on. Peace out and happy hunting.